Hey, what's good, child? This is homeboy King Han. I hope you guys are doing well. Today I want to talk about the most common 5 mistakes that I see when new learners try to learn Japanese. I'm gonna be honest, I am guilty of a couple of these. I'm not perfect, so I made a bunch of mistakes along the way on my Japanese journey, but I did learn a lot from them, so I'm now here to pass them on to you. So without wasting any more time, let's get straight to number 1. The first mistake is ignoring pronunciation. So pronunciation is super important, and it's going to be one of the key factors that separates the newbies from the fluent. Not only does it help you become more understood, but it also helps you become taken more seriously. Now, it's a little bit sad, but your accent is actually a huge part of what people judge you based off of. Despite them knowing absolutely nothing about you, your accent is a huge part of what people look into when they're meeting somebody new. So, for example, if I say, "Hello, my name is Timothy, I'm 20 years old, and I'm studying information technology at California University." Or, "Hello, my name is Timothy, I'm 20 years old, and I'm studying information technology at California University." I said the exact same thing, just one was Nigerian and one was American. But who do you think ends up getting a better shot at the job? It's sad, but it's probably the American. Why? Because he just speaks in an American accent. Is it messed up? Yes. Is it the way society works? Also yes. So making sure you nail down the accent is really important. To do this, I recommend shadowing. Shadowing is basically whenever you're watching content or listening to a podcast or whatever it is, you actively try to hear how the person pronunciates it, and then you try to copy them as best you can. So they say a sentence, you pause, you actively listen for it, and then you try to imitate them the exact same way. I really recommend shadowing to get down the accent to a T. Number 2 is ignoring politeness levels when it comes to Japanese. So in Japanese, different verb forms and speech styles and honorifics, they're used to convey different levels of respect and politeness depending on the situation. You might find that there's 4 or 5 different ways to say the exact same thing in Japanese, but it's different levels of politeness. So not being aware of these can really ruin relationships or stop them from forming to begin with. For example, here are 4 ways to say thank you in Japanese. You have azas, which is used in the most informal way of speaking. Your friends, your siblings, really close people. Then you have arigato, which is a step up. You use it to address a little bit more formally, but it's still pretty casual. Then you have arigatou gozaimasu, which is used pretty generally, right? You have customer service, or somebody you don't know gave you something or whatever, you would say arigatou gozaimasu. Then you have domo arigatou gozaimasu, which is the most polite way of saying thank you. You say it to somebody who's really high up, whether it's a senior at work or somebody that's really well respected or an older person, you say domo arigatou gozaimasu, the highest way of saying thank you. So all these different levels of politeness are used for different situations, and knowing these is going to be really important, especially if you plan on living and working in Japan. If you only speak formal Japanese with people, you're going to find it's really hard to make friends because you're so formal, dude. But then on the flip side, if you're only speaking casual Japanese, right, slang and all this super casual, azas, all this really casual stuff, no one's going to take you seriously. No job's going to want you. Your professor's going to think this kid's a weirdo. That's why it's really important to know all these different levels of casualties and formalities and when to use them. You got to know both to keep the balance. Try to be observant, when Japanese people speak in Japanese, to okay, he's using this kind of form, this formality at this situation, right? Just be a little bit observant whenever you're watching Japanese shows or YouTube. Just be observant. And then the third mistake that a lot of people make is not studying kanji. You can't not study kanji. Trust me, I tried. I tried really hard to not study kanji, but you gotta study kanji. Japanese is made of 3 different scripts. We have hiragana, katakana, and kanji. Kanji make up quite a bit of Japanese. So if you don't know kanji, you're setting yourself up for failure. So these kanji characters provide a really crucial understanding, meaning, and context to the Japanese language, but it's often one of the hardest parts to learn the language, right? A lot of people say, oh, it's too complex, or there's too many of them. But I think that the hardest part about learning kanji is actually not kanji itself, it's learning how to learn. A lot of people want to learn something, in this case kanji, but don't know how to learn, don't know how to go about it. If you know how to study kanji, it should not be a complex grinding process that takes many, many years. Honestly, it shouldn't take longer than 2 years if you do it correctly. Maybe even 1. One of the techniques that people use to learn kanji is through mnemonic devices. I've spoken about this before in a lot of my previous videos, but essentially a mnemonic device is anything that helps you remember something. But kanji was created like centuries ago, like a long time ago. So it's kind of hard to do that. So we use pictures nowadays to do that. We associate a kanji with a picture. So an example is like da, rice field, or kawa, river, or yama, mountain, right? These are the images and what they mean. You use pictures to kind of associate yourself with the meaning of it. Now, this is a cool method, and I personally like it a lot, but it can only take you so far. You see, these kanji can get real complex real fast. It works for things like yama and kawa, but what if you want to get to byo? But by far, the best way to learn kanji is through an SRS, spaced repetition system. Spaced repetition is the best way to get knowledge that we've learned into our long-term memory. And it does this by creating appropriate intervals at appropriate times with our review sessions. This is scientifically proven to be one of the best ways to get new information into our long-term memory. You see, whenever you try to learn a new skill or learn new information, there's a period of time of when you first remember it to when you're about to forget it. It's like a curve between remembering and forgetting, and trying to understand this curve in itself is a process. Thankfully, Mochi Kanji, the sponsor of today's video, has got your back. Mochi Kanji has used this scientific approach of SRS, or spaced repetition system, to get you to memorize kanji and put it in your long-term memory. It has a concept called golden time, and golden time is that period of time when you're just about to forget something, whether that's a new kanji or new vocab. Just when you're about to forget it, it reminds you that it's time to review it, and therefore it sticks in your long-term memory and you don't forget it. It has an algorithm that knows when your brain's about to forget it, and it reminds you that it's time to review it. You don't gotta set no alarms or set reminders for yourself that it's time to review with this golden time. Just wait for Mochi Kanji to remind you, and you'll find that learning kanji will be incredibly fast. With Mochi Kanji, you learn new words and new kanji with flashcards, which I love because they're super intuitive. They come with sound, so you know how to actually pronounce them, you don't sound like an idiot later. And they also come with furigana, so you're able to read them. And of course, they have the meaning too. When you review a card, it also gives you the word or the kanji in the context of a sentence, which is super important. As I stressed before, your brain loves patterns and it recognizes things better in context. So whenever you see a new word in the context of a sentence, it remembers it much better. So I'm really happy that Mochi Kanji actually incorporates this into your learning. Mochi Kanji also has quizzes, and it's super nice if you're trying to use Japanese academically or you're studying for a test, because it uses reading, writing, and listening. They're all highly interactive, comprehensive, and pretty interesting actually. And then Mochi Kanji also divides your learning into 5 levels, level 1 through 5. Level 1 being just beginner, and level 5 being that it's in your long-term memory. So it's really like nice and organized way of learning. Also, to take your kanji learning a step further, it also gives you writing practice, which is something that I personally struggle with, and I wish I did this sooner, because learning the stroke order, while you don't necessarily need to know how to write, it's super helpful because knowing the stroke order will stick in your long-term memory, and it gives you a new pattern and new recognition system to remember these kanji. So even if you don't really write kanji, knowing how to write will help you remember kanji. It's weird, but it works. So I'll definitely be using Mochi Kanji for writing. And very conveniently, Mochi Kanji also divides learning into categories and JLPT levels. JLPT meaning the Japanese language exam, which a lot of people take in order so they can like move to Japan and work there. It divides your learning into these different exams. So N1 being like the top and N5 being the most beginner. You can divide your learning into what you need to know for the exam, so super helpful there. And then, as if that wasn't enough features, Mochi Kanji also super conveniently comes with a dictionary where you can just look up Japanese words, review them, and then add them to your notebook so you can study them when it's golden time later. You can just type using kana, kanji, or even romaji. I think that's super helpful and convenient to have, honestly. And then one thing I love about Mochi Kanji, it's just like it's super like cute interface. It's so like chill and cute. Like for example, to keep motivated, there's something called the Mochi Garden, which you can like plant your little trees there, and then the more you work and like review, the bigger your tree grows. It's just like super cute, and like just the colors, just so cute and kawaii, honestly. Overall, Mochi Kanji is an app that I wish that I had when I started learning Japanese, especially kanji. It would have cut my time in half, probably even more. It would have saved me so much time, but at least you guys have it. So I'm gonna leave a link to it down below in the description. App Store and Google Play Store. Please give it a shot. It's only going to help you and save you so much time. Thank you to Mochi Kanji for sponsoring this video. The fourth mistake is only using Romaji, not learning anything. Whether that's kanji, kana, only using Romaji. If you don't know, Romaji is the Latin way of pronouncing Japanese words. It's fine to use Romaji at the start, especially when learning hiragana and katakana. In fact, you kind of have to when learning these. But after you learn your kana, please just drop Romaji. You cannot rely on Romaji. You have to learn actual Japanese. This is kind of tied to number one of having bad pronunciation, but here's an example of why you can't use Romaji. Kare wa getsuyobi to nichiyobi ni yoku jugyou o soboru. Or, kare wa getsuyobi to nichiyobi ni yoku jugyou o soboru. There's a clear difference in what you can hear and what the accent sounds like. You can just tell that one sounds off. And it sounds off because some of the sounds in Japanese just can't be replicated by the Latin alphabet. So it's super important that you're able to get the Japanese script and writing system down ASAP. Also, 99% of all the Japanese that you will see in Japan does not have Romaji. It's just Japanese characters, so please learn them. And then the last mistake, and I think one of the biggest, is not immersing. Language is not something that you can learn from a textbook. It's not something that's learned, it's something that is acquired. You acquire a language. Nobody taught you English. You acquired it. And how do you acquire a language? It's through immersion. It's through being in that language environment. Thousands of hours of listening and hearing and reading and speaking. That's how you learn a language. Languages have these nuances and little cultural aspects that you just can't learn from a textbook. For example, playing the piano. In Japanese, we say piano o hiku, or literally, I pluck the piano. Whereas English, we say I play the piano. If I literally said I play the piano in Japanese, piano o asobu, it sounds weird. It doesn't sound right. I can't say that. It doesn't make sense. Whereas in English, if I say I pluck the piano, again, it sounds weird, right? I can't say I pluck the piano. You just say, oh, I play the piano. One is not right and the other is not wrong. They're both correct. It's just different languages have different ways of saying it. Japanese say we pluck the piano, whereas English we say I play the piano. This is something that can easily be used to tell if you are actually fluent in a language or not. Even if your accent is 100% perfectly fine, if you mess up these nuances, these little things, people are gonna know, oh, you're an outsider. For example, we know in English it's the big red dog. If I come up to you and say, oh, the red big dog, doesn't that just sound off? Like I'm speaking to you in like fluent American English, but I'm saying the red big dog. We know it's the big red dog. And if I ask you why, you probably don't even know, but it just sounds off. However, this is an issue that's fixed with immersion. When you immerse with native speakers, whether that's shows or YouTube, you actually hear how they do it, how they say it. These little cultural things, you actually hear, okay, we say pluck the piano. We don't say piano wa sobu, we say piano hiku. It's here in immersion where you're gonna learn these different nuances and cultural little things. Obviously, there's like a million reasons why immersion is good and how you actually learn a language through immersion, but I'll keep it at that. If you made it all the way to the end, I just want to say a big thank you. I really do appreciate you guys watching the videos, and I hope this video has helped you. Japanese can be a really tough language if you don't do it correctly, so I do hope you guys take advantage of like the tools and tips that I give you in this video and on this channel. With that being said, I wish you guys all the best, and King Han signing off.